Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rider Ramblings. It's another grey day. It's actually pretty cold. We've got a cold north wind. I've actually put the lining in the jacket. The vents are open. It's one of those can't make up its mind whether it's hot or cold days, but it was certainly a bit chilly this morning. Yes, never mind. So, the brakes have been bled, the clutch fluid has been bled. In fact, I actually replaced and flushed out the clutch fluid and the brake fluid. So it's all been removed. So that's that. It was actually quite easy with the vacuum pumpy thingy, which should be coming up shortly. I'm still editing that. I mentioned in the last video that I'd had a squirrely moment with the wet weather and the slick roads and I put that down to a certain extent to the fact that these are Dunlops, the RoadSmart IVs, and they just don't have the same grip as the Michelins. Michelins just seem to have a bit more grip, so if you are going to be riding in the wet, then I would strongly suggest that you use the Michelins rather than the Dunlops. But if you do what I do, which is ride in the wet rarely, though I must admit with the Dunlops I've been actually riding in the wet quite a lot in the UK. So most of my ride through the UK, which was I think it was about 1,300 miles, something like that, approximately. I can't remember now. Get off your phone, mate. Most of that was in the wet, and then yesterday, when it said it was going to be dry-ish, it was wet, and today, in theory, it's supposed to be drier than when I was last out on the bike. So I haven't actually put the waterproofs on. They are in the top box, but they're on the bike, but I'm not wearing them today. I've got the showerproof lining in the jacket just in case it does rain. So, top tip: if you're going to do a lot of wet weather work, use the Michelins. They're not as squirrely. So we're actually coming down to the river a different way. You quite often see a video of me coming along this piece of road, but not joining it there, but joining it somewhere else. So, yes, I thought I would try a different route today. I'm trying different routes just to see which is better. I don't really like traffic lights, and the route which is most direct has a lot of traffic lights and a lot of 𝗪𝗺 and things like that, whereas the route I've just used has fewer traffic lights and fewer problems with the 𝗪𝗺, and I've just missed these lights. Oh dear, never mind, not to worry. Yes, so it's a bit different, it is, today, and I shall be turning over the bridge, not going straight on as I normally do. The the sat-nav is to remind me about police and speed cameras, as I actually do know where I'm going. Well, I hope I know where I'm going. I'd much prefer not to know where I'm going. I like to get lost. Don't know about you, when you go out on the bike, do you actually have a destination? Do let me know. Do you actually have a destination and a route in mind, or do you think I'll just go north or east or west or south, possibly, depending on where you are? Do you do any of that? Because I tend not to have a distinct destination in mind most of the time, and I just go in a general direction. Though I must admit, sort of recently, I've been going to the east more, and I'm doing the same here. I can't filter as well on this bike because I've got some rear crash bars protecting the cases, and they actually stick out further than the handlebars, just slightly, but I've been caught out a couple of times where I've been a bit too close to the cars, so I'm not doing as much filtering as I would, which is probably a good thing. I don't know about you, but it's probably a good thing. Oh, I was watching a video. Well, I was watching two videos, different people, both of whom have had their motorcycles stolen in France. And both times it was a BMW 1250 or 1300 or 1200, one of those. Both times they hadn't chained the bike. One of the times they'd put a disc lock on, and the other time they'd actually just stopped outside of a hotel, taken their bags in, come downstairs, and the bike had gone. So I thought I'd discuss, to a certain extent, motorcycle security, especially if you're in France, because I've been here for 15 years, and I'm sure at some point it will happen, but I try to be a bit more security conscious in France than I am in the UK. So I always use a chain when I park the bike, and I chain it to an immovable object. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, chain it to a fence or something like this. I'd rather not chain it to a fence. I prefer a lamp post or some sort of long post, because fences are easier to cut with an angle grinder. You can get through those quite easily, whereas a long post is a bit more difficult. Now, on this bike, I do have a disc lock alarm, which I carry under the seat. And if I'm going somewhere where I know it's going to be parked in what I consider an insecure area, I'll take a chain with me. Good grief, there's police everywhere today around here. Don't know what they're doing, but they're everywhere. I mean, a lot of people will put the disc lock or whatever on the front wheel, which is what I usually do. But if I'm going somewhere I'm not too certain about, I'll put it on the rear disc. And I do have a lanyard, which is fluorescent yellow, that I attach to somewhere very visible, usually a handlebar, but not always, but somewhere very visible on the bike. And the disc lock alarm is usually enough if I'm, say, going to a cafe or a restaurant or something like that, where I'm within not a great distance of the bike, talking sort of, 30 metres, 40 metres, that sort of thing. And I can keep an eye on it. But if I'm parking elsewhere, then I'll use a chain as well, and the chain goes through the bodywork, just to make life a bit more difficult for them. Yes, I suppose they could cut it off with an angle grinder or something like that, but I also try and make sure that the chain isn't touching the ground if I can. I do try and do that. And again, the chain has a lanyard on it, so I attach that to somewhere visible, so I can see it easily. So it goes through the bodywork, and then I'll put it through usually a lamppost or something that will take a bit more getting through rather than just a fence or whatever, and do that. Now, when I go touring, and I'm going for 2 or 3 days or whatever, or even, I have a waterproof and heat-proof cover that I take, and I actually took it to the UK with me, so it did actually go to the UK with me, though I didn't actually use it in the UK, for a number of reasons, the main one being that I was using the disc lock alarm, and the bike was always parked either in somebody's driveway, which was a bit more difficult to get to. One of the driveways was about 300 metres long, I think, if I remember rightly. One was fairly short, but sufficient to keep the bike out of mischief, and another one was about 70 metres long as well, so sort of more difficult to actually see the bike. And then the last one, it was actually in the backyard of the house, so hidden from sight. So I didn't actually use the cover. I suppose I should have done, because it was raining a lot, but I found that it wasn't really necessary, and it was easy enough to quickly dry off the bike. I'm used to doing that with the 𝗘𝗀𝗃𝗃 when I'm out and about. So yes, so if you're touring, I would strongly suggest, now people say, oh, cover is a pain, but I can promise you, having your bike stolen, having had a bike stolen, that was in London, I had the bike stolen, having had a bike stolen, it is an absolute pain of the first order, sorting it out. And if you're in a foreign country where you don't necessarily speak the language, it can be even more difficult, because even though you might be going to a main police station, not all the police speak English. So I do seriously suggest that when you are touring, bring a chain and put it through the bodywork and round a lamppost or something like that. Yes, it's more to carry. Yes, but if you think about it, it's a lot less hassle. Than speed camera just there. Than actually having your bike nicked. it is. So, do that. Somebody's dropped something on the road. Oh dear. Never mind. Right, anyhow, please let me know what direction you go in, what type of security you use, whether you've had your bike nicked or whatever. As I say, I had a CX500 nicked in London. It was probably stripped for parts before I even woke up. It just had the handlebar lock on at the time. It did have an alarm, but I hadn't set the alarm. And it was actually my last day in London. Seriously, the night it was nicked, the morning after, I was actually travelling north. I was leaving London and going north. So that proved to be a real pain, because I had to make other arrangements for travel because I was supposed to be using the bike. So yeah, never mind. Right, so please like, share, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Mr. Taxi's in a blinding hurry. He's been sitting on my tail.